Welcome, dear viewers, to a world veiled in darkness and intrigue. Tonight I beckon you into the abyss, where the chill of the unknown grips the soul. Prepare yourselves, for we are about to embark on a journey into the darkest recesses of human existence, where malevolence wears a cloak of secrecy and horrors lie in wait to be unearthed. Nestled in the serene embrace of Ravenswood, a small town cherished for its picturesque beauty and tight-knit community, a sinister undercurrent pulsed, invisible to the untrained eye. Peace shattered like glass on stone when a string of ghastly murders stained the town's innocence with blood and terror. The victims, young artists with dreams woven from threads of creativity, met their gruesome demise in ways that defied reason and sanity. Each discovery, each life snuffed out, sent ripples of horror through the hearts of the townsfolk, shattering the illusion of safety that once enveloped Ravenswood. The authorities, ill-equipped and overwhelmed, launched a desperate bid for justice, but the truth proved elusive, slipping through their fingers like smoke in the wind. The first body was found in the early hours of a fog-drenched morning. A local farmer, tending to his fields, stumbled upon the lifeless form of a young woman, her eyes wide open in a final, silent scream. The town's police force, unaccustomed to such brutality, were plunged into a nightmare that seemed without end. The woman was identified as Emily Hart, a promising painter known for her evocative landscapes. As news of the murder spread, fear gripped the community. Doors were locked tight, and children were kept indoors. The police, driven by a relentless pursuit of justice, followed the twisted threads that led them to an ancient, dilapidated mansion, cloaked in shadows and rumor. This mansion, once the grand centerpiece of the town, had fallen into disrepair, its windows boarded up and its gardens overgrown with weeds. Within its decaying walls, they uncovered a chamber of horrors, a gallery of grotesque art that mirrored the mutilations of the victims. Photographs of the missing adorned the walls like silent witnesses to unspeakable atrocities, their vacant stares a haunting echo of the horrors they had witnessed. It became clear that the Forgotten Gallery was more than just a gathering of artists. It was a nexus of darkness, a crucible where innocence was sacrificed on the altar of depravity. Each new clue uncovered only deepened the enigma, revealing layers of corruption and horror that defied comprehension. In one corner of the mansion, an old wooden chest was found, its contents a macabre collection of trinkets and personal items from the victims. Lockets, rings, and even fragments of clothing, each piece told a story of dreams cut short and lives destroyed. The townsfolk, once proud of their heritage and community spirit, now whispered in fear and suspicion, eyes darting nervously at every shadow. As the investigation deepened, so too did the darkness that enveloped Ravenswood. Court cases vanished like whispers on the wind, their secrets buried beneath layers of corruption and deceit. The tendrils of the Forgotten Gallery reached into the highest echelons of society, ensnaring the powerful and the powerless alike in its web of lies. The local judge, a figure once respected, was found to have ties to the gallery, his hands stained with the blood of the innocent. In the heart of this maelstrom stood a figure shrouded in mystery, the Puppeteer. Whispers of his name echoed through the shadows, tales of his uncanny connection to the dark arts swirling like mist in the night. Reluctant but driven by a sense of duty, he emerged from the depths of obscurity to aid the police in their quest for justice. The puppeteer's aid came at a cost, a demand for justice that extended beyond the confines of Ravenswood. He sought not only to stop the horrors of the Forgotten Gallery, but to expose the rot that festered at the core of society itself. And so, with a heavy heart and a resolve as cold as iron, he joined forces with the beleaguered officers in their struggle against the darkness. Together they ventured into the heart of darkness, each step a descent into madness and despair. One fateful night, as a storm raged outside, the puppeteer led the officers to an underground passage hidden beneath the mansion. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the walls slick with moisture. Their flashlights flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. They descended deeper, each step echoing through the narrow tunnel. In the depths of this subterranean nightmare, they discovered a room filled with sketches and paintings that defied sanity. Scenes of torture and despair, each one more horrifying than the last, adorned the walls. At the center of the room stood an altar, stained with the blood of countless victims. It was here that the artists of the Forgotten Gallery had performed their vile rituals, sacrificing innocence to fuel their grotesque creations. The air was thick with the stench of death and decay, and the officers struggled to maintain their composure as they took in the horrific scene. In a final cataclysmic confrontation, the truth was laid bare. The artists of the Forgotten Gallery were not merely creators of art, but architects of horror. Their twisted creations fueled by the blood and suffering of their victims. The puppeteer, haunted by his own demons, emerged as the unlikely hero, his past a tapestry of shadows and regret. As the officers moved to arrest the gallery's leaders, a sense of dread filled the air. The artists, their eyes wild with madness, fought back with a ferocity born of desperation. The battle was brutal, the air thick with the sounds of struggle and the smell of blood. In the end, justice was served, but at a terrible cost. The darkness that had enveloped Ravenswood refused to recede, leaving behind a void that could never be filled. The puppeteer, consumed by guilt and despair, vanished into the night, a solitary figure haunted by the ghosts of his past. His final words echoed in the minds of those who had fought beside him, a chilling reminder of the price of delving too deeply into the shadows. The darkness, he had whispered, is never truly vanquished. It merely waits, biding its time, until it can rise again. Ravenswood, once a beacon of peace and tranquility, was forever changed. The remnants of the Forgotten Gallery's malevolent energy lingered, a dark stain on the town's history. The townsfolk, their innocence shattered, lived in a perpetual state of fear and suspicion. The gallery may have been dismantled, but its legacy of horror endured. In the weeks that followed, the town struggled to return to a semblance of normalcy. But the scars left by the Forgotten Gallery ran deep, and the specter of the past loomed large over Ravenswood. The mansion, now a site of macabre fascination, became a grim tourist attraction, drawing thrill-seekers and curiosity-seekers alike. But for those who had lived through the nightmare, it was a reminder of the darkness that had once threatened to consume them all. The local authorities, determined to prevent such horrors from ever happening again, launched a series of initiatives aimed at restoring the community's sense of security and increased patrols. Neighborhood watch programs and community outreach efforts became the norm. But no amount of vigilance could erase the memories of the atrocities that had been committed within their town. Among the townsfolk, stories began to circulate of strange occurrences in and around the old mansion. Ghostly apparitions, disembodied whispers, and inexplicable cold spots were reported by those brave enough to venture near. The mansion, it seemed, was determined to hold on to its dark secrets, refusing to let go of the horrors that had transpired within its walls. As the seasons changed and the years passed, Ravenswood slowly began to rebuild. New families moved in, unaware of the town's dark history, while the older residents did their best to shield them from the past. But the shadow of the Forgotten Gallery loomed large, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked just beneath the surface. The once vibrant art community, decimated by the loss of so many talented young artists, struggled to find its footing. Art galleries and studios closed their doors, unable to escape the stigma associated with the Forgotten Gallery. Those who remained turned their focus to creating works of hope and healing, striving to mend the wounds inflicted by the horrors of the past. Despite the efforts to move forward, the past refused to remain buried. The families of the victims, left to grapple with their grief and loss, found themselves haunted by unanswered questions and unfulfilled justice. The puppeteer's disappearance left a void, and many wondered if he would ever return to face the consequences of his own dark past. Rumors of his whereabouts circulated, each more outlandish than the last. Some claimed he had fled to a distant land, seeking solace in solitude. Others whispered that he had succumbed to the darkness, becoming a phantom that roamed the night. But no one knew for certain, and the uncertainty only fueled the sense of unease that pervaded Ravenswood. In the quiet corners of the town, a few brave souls continued to investigate the mysteries of the Forgotten Gallery. They pored over old documents, interviewed witnesses, and searched for any clues that might shed light on the true extent of the gallery's influence. But the deeper they delved, the more elusive the truth became. One night, as a full moon cast an eerie glow over the town, a small group of researchers gathered in the old mansion, determined to uncover its secrets once and for all. Armed with cameras, recording equipment, and a steely resolve, they ventured into the heart of the darkness. What they discovered would leave them forever changed. In the deepest recesses of the mansion, they found a hidden chamber, untouched by time. The walls were lined with shelves filled with journals, sketches, and paintings, each more disturbing than the last. It was a repository of the gallery's darkest works, a testament to the depravity that had once thrived within its walls. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and the researchers struggled to breathe as they took in the horrific scene. As they examined the contents of the chamber, they uncovered a series of journals that detailed the inner workings of the Forgotten Gallery. Written by the gallery's leaders, these journals provided a chilling glimpse into the minds of those who had orchestrated the horrors. They spoke of rituals, sacrifices, and a hunger for power that defied comprehension. But perhaps the most disturbing discovery was a collection of letters addressed to the Puppeteer. These letters, written in a spidery script, hinted at a deeper, more insidious connection between him and the gallery. They spoke of promises made and debts owed, of a pact forged in blood and darkness. The researchers, horrified by what they had found, realized that the true extent of the Puppeteer's involvement was far greater than they had ever imagined. The revelation of the Puppeteer's ties to the Forgotten Gallery sent shockwaves through the town. The man who had once been seen as a reluctant hero was now viewed with suspicion and fear. The questions that had haunted Ravenswood for so long seemed destined to remain unanswered, leaving the town trapped in a cycle of darkness and despair. As the researchers fled the mansion, their minds reeling from the horrors they had uncovered, a sense of hopelessness settled over Ravenswood. The darkness, it seemed, was inescapable, a permanent stain on the soul of the town. The mansion, now abandoned and desolate, stood as a monument to the horrors that had once thrived within its walls. In the months that followed, strange occurrences continued to plague the town. Unexplained disappearances, mysterious deaths, and sightings of shadowy figures became disturbingly common. The sense of fear and unease that had once gripped the town now seemed to be a permanent fixture, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked just beneath the surface. The townsfolk, their spirits broken, struggled to carry on. The old mansion, now deemed cursed, was left to decay, its walls crumbling and its windows shattered. But for those who had lived through the nightmare, the memories of the Forgotten Gallery were ever present, haunting their every waking moment and invading their dreams. As the years passed, the story of the Forgotten Gallery became legend, a dark tale passed down through generations. But the truth, shrouded in mystery and fear, was known only to those who had lived through it. The Puppeteer, his fate unknown, remained a figure of fascination and dread, his name whispered in hushed tones by those who remembered the horrors of the past. And so, dear viewers, the tale comes to an end, as all tales must. But remember this: the darkness that lurks within the human heart is a force beyond reckoning, a tapestry woven from the threads of our darkest desires. Until we meet again, stay vigilant, for the shadows hold secrets that are best left undisturbed.